happen? Did you expect to run for over 300 on Saturday?
I think the guys came out ready to go. They played hard. When you have that type of production, you have to give everybody credit, I think. Or I know whether it's the line, the tight ends, the receivers, Sam getting us in good plays. The backs ran hard. They trusted their courses, so it was obviously encouraging.
Everybody wants to talk about the run game, rightfully so, but just talk about Sam and what he's done since he's been back as a starter, 4 games and no turnovers.
Yeah, Sam coming in 4 games into it. Each quarterback's a little bit different, so we're still working our way through things, trying to accentuate Sam's strengths, and he does a great job, just running the game for us, managing the game, keeping us in good plays. He does a nice job letting the offense work for him. We're still working through that. Don't have a lot of time together right now, but going into Game 5 with them, it's a little crisper each and every week.
He talked about patience, letting the game come to him, as you said. When did you start to see that aspect in his game develop a little better?
I guess 4 weeks into it, we haven't seen a ton of football from him, or I haven't, had a ton of football with him. 4 games is such a small sample size, but, he's a guy we talk about, in the offensive room. Sometimes we talk about we got to make sure we take our patience pills each week. Let the game come to you. We don't want to chase anything out there. And he's a guy. He's been around the block a little bit, and he's comfortable in his own skin. And he's at the point in his career, I would think, where he doesn't have to feel like he has to go out and chase a bunch of numbers and things like that. Where, we got to just make good decisions and give us a chance to win the game.
When you had Gino as a backup, he was seen as a leader in that locker room still. I'm just curious, what has Sam been like going from being on IR to being a backup to being a starter from a day-to-day standpoint, from a leadership perspective?
Yeah, Sam's a guy, he's comfortable in his own skin. When he was in the backup role, he was doing everything he could to help and support the guy who was playing, whether it was Baker or whether it was PJ. Now he's in his leadership role, and he's just doing it in his own way. And it looks maybe a little bit different than the way some other guys do it, but, that to me is the key thing is, being comfortable in your own skin, leading your own way, not trying to be somebody else. And, he's doing everything that we've asked from him so far. Yep.
You guys had so much success on those inside zone runs last week. Understand this is a different scheme, but how critical will the interior matchups be this week?
Yeah, when you play a division team, this is the second time around, and they've played a lot of the same guys here the last few years. When you do that, it's kind of the game within the game type deal, right? It comes down a lot of times to matchups, to winning your one-on-one battle, and just studying the guy that you're going to be facing a lot. Now, they will rotate and mix some people in there up front, but they have a lot of good players too. It looks like they're getting healthy at the right time for them, so we'll have a great challenge ahead of us. But a lot of times it comes into one-on-one battles. You do what you do best, they do what they do best, and then you may have some counters off of it, and they'll have some counters as well as they'll have some gotta-have-it type calls. That's been something they've had in the past, so we got to be ready for that. We got to be ready to, adjust and improvise along the way. But when you play these games, there's usually not many secrets, right? So you go out, you play your one-on-one battle, and you try to put the players in position to be as successful as you can. There'll be some times we ask some guys to do some things that are hard, but that's a part of December football.
Can you expand on the gotta-have-it calls?
Yeah, just later in the game, games on the line, it comes down to, maybe trying to throw a curveball or have a counter off of something that you've shown many times. That kind of works either way.
Ben, you joked during training camp, I hope you were joking, about as long as we don't resort to cannibalism, we should get out of this. How hard is it to manage kind of the human element of that quarterback room when there has been so much change among those guys this year?
Yeah, I just try to be myself, number one. I don't pick sides. I don't play favorites. So I think that's number one. You support who's ever in the game, whoever it is you're in the game, whether it's a preseason game. We have a call sheet for each guy. Each guy has his own sheet. You're not going to ask a guy to do something that he may not be comfortable with or doesn't fit his skill set. So you try to manage that part of it. Then you get to the season. You like to get as much feedback as you can from the backup because they can kind of help support and caddy the starter. And, the starter, everything, when you get in the room and it's game week, it's everything you do is about the starter. And you just got to make sure you get everybody in the room working towards helping the starter some way, somehow. So they have different jobs and different tasks that you ask them to do, just to make them feel a part of it, And these guys have done a great job with it. And you have to have character in the room, too. And we certainly have had that.
Each of those guys had a turn to be that, caddy, backup guy. I mean,
Right.
What does it take to, or what does that look like during the week when you say support the starter from that role? What does that look like?
Yeah, we have, different things, whether it's tip sheets, whether it's opponent studies, whether it's watching extra film, whether it's, hey, going to grab and, maybe pulling a player aside in another room and says, hey, what do you think about this? The starter's thinking such and such here. It'd be good to have a conversation, just kind of helping them because it's when you're a quarterback in the National Football League, you're a CEO of a company. I mean, there's a lot going on that these guys have to manage and have to deal with outside of just getting the ball snapped. So they need, you need to coach them, you need to be hard on them, you need to hold them accountable, but you also have to help them.
Baker's had a couple of pretty strong games for the Rams. I don't know how much you've seen of it, but kind of curious what you think the difference has been for him out there.
I don't know. I'd have to watch the games. I'd have to take a look at that. I've had my hands full here, but at some point I'd love to go back and take a look. I did see a couple snaps, and he looked really sharp last week.
Ben, last week you said that you needed to do a better job at finding running lanes for your rushers. How were you and offensive line coach James Campen able to do that?
Yeah, I think, obviously James Campen does a great job. Jeff Nixon does a great job. Kevin Gilbride does a great job. Joe Daly with the receivers does a great job. It's an all-hands-on-deck approach. We try to put the players in position to be successful. Sean Ryan does a great job with the quarterbacks, directing them on how to install the runs. But we just try to put the players in position to be successful, try to get out of their way and let them go do it. And they did a nice job of it last week, and the credit goes to the players. Did a great job.
If we could go back, sorry, David. If we just going back to Saturday real quick. As the game was going, was there any surprise on how light those boxes remained as you had that eagle eye up there in the box?
I think that I don't know that they were light boxes. I think they played a lot of post-safety defense. They got there maybe a different way than maybe you're used to seeing. And then they did adjust and start to bring strong safety and nickel pressure and those things. But again, it was one of those days, and that was great. But as you know, when you hit the building the next day, you got to make sure you hit the reset button, right? Not the easy button. Don't work that way, especially this week.
You were with the Giants for the Josh Norman, Odell Beckham game. What do you remember about Josh and that whole moment, what that showed about him?
I just remember it got pretty wild, right? It was a very competitive ball game. They jumped on us early. We battled back, and then they found a way to win it in the end. The Panthers did, so I love me some Panthers now. But yeah, it was it was a battle. It was competitive. I probably don't want to say a whole heck of a lot about it, but it was physical, and it was one of those deals where sometimes competition pushes you to do things maybe you don't necessarily want to do on both sides. But it was it ended up being a pretty good ball game.
How much does it help the running game when you have multiple guys who are really effective on wham blocks?
Say it one more time.
How does it help? How does it help you as like a schemer and how you do the blocking protections when you have multiple guys who are capable of throwing an effective wham block or going out in space and blocking?
You're talking more like the tight ends and Cade and yeah, we we have guys who are capable and willing, right? Sometimes you have guys who are willing, sometimes you have guys who are capable, but we have both, and we have multiple guys that can do that. It starts with Ian, right? Ian's a guy you can move around. He's kind of our, coach calls him our Rodman. I don't know if I should be saying it, but he's kind of he does all the hard, dirty work for us. He's a tough dude. He can certainly make plays in the pass game, but he kind of sets the tempo for us there. Tommy did a great job. Sully did a great job. Our receivers, we use them there. We throw Cade in there. We throw Cam in there. And we try to use as many people as we can, right? They're here practicing. They're working hard. They're in the league. They have the talent. They're giving us everything they have, so we try to use them all to, and put them in position to be successful. Last week we found a way to use them a little bit, and it worked out.
Ben, on DJ's 47-yard reception, cover zero, the Lions really brought everyone. And it looked like Sam could have really hit any receiver, short, intermediate, or the deep skinny post he hit. Right. Is that the throw that call calls for, or is that one of those where the easier throw would have been the better throw, but it all worked out? Can you just talk me through that decision-making process?
We blocked them up. We had a version of a max protection there, and we caught it right. They added on, so they had one more than we had blocking, and he had to fight through some trash there. Sam set his feet for number one. Number one was DJ Pop, so he threw the ball. That's it.
Ben, Steve's mentioned a lot about Taylor Moton kind of as a leader along the offensive line. What is it about his personality that you've noticed in meetings or anything that kind of makes him that better?
Yeah, Timo's he's an experienced guy, right? Number one. He's a hard worker. He's fought through a lot of things this year to be able to play, which is hats off to Timo, right? He's a big team guy. He's been around. He blocks his man. That's kind of where it starts for me. You have good tackles if you don't talk about them too much. And to me, I love both of our guys out there on the edges. And Timo's a veteran guy. He's been around the block, and he's craving an opportunity to win, and he does everything we ask him to do. And we like to push him out front. And he's a good human being, and I'm glad we're together.
You say fought through a lot. What do you mean by that?
Well, just, in this game, you're not always feeling good when you're out there playing. And, he certainly goes out and practices and fights through things on game day. And, that in itself is a sign of leadership.
This is not a guy you're scheming against, but you've been around the league a while. To have another game against Brady, you don't know how many more you'll get. What does that mean? Any thoughts on him, I guess?
Yeah, he looks like he can still play for a while, right? So, but he's one of the best, if not the best, to ever do it, right? He's always in the conversation. He always seems like he finds the way to win. So, the way I look at it is we got to do our job on offense to try to keep him off the field as much as we can, and do our part and score enough points and find a way to win the game.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, that's a boring answer for you.